afternoon and welcome to Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. Our headlines for this afternoon. Police in Ashanti region to step up campaign to flush out nomadic herdsmen from the Algo area despite Monday's attack on a joint police military team. Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, to sanction media houses which advertise alcoholic beverages between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. TV3 secures documents indicating the CEO of COCOBOD, Joseph Boahene Edu, paid for the 300 pieces of chocolate branded with his picture and distributed on his 60th birthday. On the foreign front, North Korea to send a delegation to the 2018 Winter Olympic Games taking place in South Korea in February. We have details of these stories and many more lined up. Do stay. So our very first story this afternoon, and the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, has reminded the media, advertisers, manufacturers and importers of alcoholic beverages that advertisement on alcoholic beverages are supposed to be aired from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. hours, that's daily only. The statement signed by James Latte, the head of communications and public education, and copied to the Ghana News Agency, said this was supposed to take effect from January 1, 2018. Additionally, he mentioned that we are kindly to be informed that all advertisers of the FDA, that's advertisements of the FDA regulated products that will be approved by the FDA from January 1, 2018, are supposed to include the phrase, "This advert has been vetted and approved by the FDA." The statement added the FDA's guidelines for advertisement on foods, that's section 326, and specifically for the requirements of advertisement of alcoholic beverages, states that radio and television advertisements shall not be aired between the hours of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Advertisers, manufacturers and importers of alcoholic beverages that advertisement on alcoholic beverages are supposed to be aired from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. hours only. And a statement signed by James Latte, the head of communications and public education, copied the Ghana News Agency, said they're supposed to take effect from January 1, 2018. And joining me this afternoon, I do have Maria Lovelace Johnson. She is with the Food and Drugs Authority to talk a lot more about this very issue. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Now, you talk about advertisements, and one of the concerns that have come up basically is that, is it got to do with only with television and radio? How
Yes.
about the internet as well?
Well, it's got to do with all of the electronic media. But with the internet, and there's a difference between the internet,
social media
the social, let's put it, yeah. There's a difference between the social and then the traditional media. But it's got to do with all of electronic media. But with yours, as in traditional media, we're telling you so that you can regulate it as well. You don't take in advertisements and air them between the hours of 6, that's between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. You don't do that. You are free to do it between 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's when you are at liberty to do the advertisement. But do not advertise alcoholic beverages between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Okay, now I asked about social media so that there's some bit of clarity for people to understand. How does this work?
Well, the manufacturers or importers will be the ones who will be doing the advertisement on social media, and we regulate them as well. So they do not have to do the advertisement on the social media, and we can get them because we regulate them as well. So it will work. We are telling them, do not do any such advertisements around this time, and so they don't have to do it.
All right, and a bit about, even though you've spoken about traditional media, let's look at billboards. Are they also part of this whole thing?
No, it's just the electronic media, not the print media.
But that is also a form of advertisement.
It is, but you know, with the electronic media, the videos and all that that go with the advertisement have a different effect on the consumer than what the print media
we see, and
have.
obviously, if I have a favorite juice and I probably see that billboard driving through town, and that alone could cause me to go and buy that very juice. How about that? Because it works as well.
No, you know, the gestures, the movements, and all that come with the advertisement of the alcoholic beverages will not be present on the print media. So with the print media, it's a bit limited. It's not as bad as it is when we get to the electronic media. So with the print media, that's okay. And also, it has with the inconvenience of letting the print media abide by such a thing. It's not possible. It's totally, it's not practical that you tell them, okay, take it off. When it's 8 p.m., then you put it up, and then 6 a.m. you take it off. It's not even practical. However, the effect that the print media has, it's not as much as what the electronic media has on the consumer, and especially the target group we are talking about.
Has there been any research to indeed clarify, to show that that advertisement in the print media couldn't have that much effect as we see on television? If for instance, company A is running an advertisement on alcohol for the whole year, and they have bought a slot in that print media, people will obviously see it every time they take that newspaper and they read it.
And you know, the target group we're talking about is children or persons under 18 years of age.
But there are children who always go through newspapers.
Yeah, they do. But we're talking about such a group of people. And we realize that the TV, rather, or that's in the electronic media, rather has more effect on them. And before we even got to such a point as to giving this directive and all that, we met with a number of people like the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. We have a couple of them here. We actually had a stakeholders meeting, and we did a lot of, we had a lot of collaboration. We did a lot of discussions and all that, and arrived at that. We had the Ghana Journalists Association present, we had the Advertisers Association of Ghana present, Consumer Protection Agency was very present, and they really made their point. We had the Independent Broadcasters Association of Ghana, Ghana Federation of Traditional Medicine Practitioners, Traditional Medicine Practice Council, Traditional and Alternative Medicine Directive, quite a number of them. They were all there, and we came to this conclusion. So it's not like just the FDA sitting there and saying, well, that's okay. This is something we engaged a lot of stakeholders, and we arrived at that. So there has been some research in that regard, if you ask.
Now, there's some concerns that even looking at the aim, which I'll allow you to speak about briefly, there's some concerns that FDA has been there all these years, now translating into an authority, and then you wait till all these years before you start implementing such a thing. What took so long? Well,
if you cast your mind back, we didn't even have the proliferation of alcoholic beverages advertisements as it is today. It wasn't like that. We had a few companies that were into alcoholic beverages. Then, some way, somehow, sometime, we don't even, just out of the blue, we had a lot of these advertisements just flouting the airwaves.
But there are authorities there. If you say out of the blue, I'm sure there are authorities that were managing these things, and yes, you certify them as well.
We do, we do. We certify them, we vet and certify them and all that. We got them coming up, and some of them even having suggestive names. when the names come at first, you really, between you and I, maybe you just not think of the name as a suggestive name or something that has some aphrodisiac nature or any link like that. But then when they do the advertisement, then you realize, wow, this is something we advertised and we approved of, that we thought really had no sexual connotations. But then as soon as they just link something, it's very interesting. Something like even just sitting down in the local parlance could even mean something else when they are just advertising like that. So we realized that no, we had to do something. And besides, we had a lot of calls, a lot of people telling us, well, this is getting out of hand. So we needed to really enforce it. And before we even thought of doing the enforcement, we had to do a lot of stakeholder engagements. We are talking about people's businesses. This is, in fact, we have two major businesses right now. We have the media on one hand and the alcoholic beverages manufacturers and importers on the other hand. They're going to, especially media, you're going to have a reduction in your...
No, but let me take you back. Would you say that stakeholders, including the FDA, have failed in dealing with this problem, as they should have?
No, we haven't. We haven't. We actually, it was a problem that was coming up. And even now, after a while, we've realized that, well, it's getting out of hand. It's not gotten out of hand yet. That's why we just want to deal with it. More like Nepenete, the bad now, because we haven't really, we've gotten to a point where we realize that a lot of people, the youth, are getting into excessive consumption of alcohol. But it could even get worse. So we just want to stop it now before we get out of hand.
What are the consequences that come with media houses that flout such things, or those who have social media platforms that flout
penalties? The Public Health Act 851 states it clearly. You could go to jail, you could be imprisoned, you could be fined, some penalty units as well, and that comes to about 90,000 Ghana cedis.
And you could monitor all those social media outlets and ensure that they are dealt with?
We do a lot of monitoring. We could. And we're expecting you to be self-regulatory as well. We are collaborators. We are in this business together. We all need to ensure the protection of public health and safety. We are in this together. It's a collective responsibility.
Thank you so much, Lovelace Johnson. She is with the FDA. You're still watching Midday Live, and the police in the Ashanti region say they will intensify the campaign to flush out nomadic herdsmen in the region, despite Monday's attack on a joint police team at Sreboso near Agogo. Of the 4 security persons who were injured during an exchange of fire between some Fulani herdsmen and the security have been referred to the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. But the medical officer in charge of the accident and emergency units at the Agogo Presbyterian Hospital, Emmanuel Menes, said they were able to stabilize the condition of the 3 before they were being referred to CAF. And he also has been speaking to our reporter, Ibrahim Abubakar. Will bring you some more on that as well. So we have that update ready with Ibrahim Abubakar from the Ashanti region.
Doc, can you confirm to us whether indeed some security officers were brought here yesterday?
Yeah, it's true. Yesterday around 1:30 p.m. We saw a van full of police personnel and then military personnel coming in. And they reported that they were fired at. And about 4 of them sustained injuries. 3 were much more critical, I may say. But 1 was quite safe, and he sustained only 1 pellet to the shoulder, so I can say that he's safe. But unfortunately, yesterday, somewhere along the line, we wanted to refer, but we had to take another critical decision because 1 sustained a pellet just to the base of the skull, to the soft palate. So it was like he would get an airway obstruction somewhere along the line. Our main challenge was, of course, with the National Ambulance Service. It's not so much reliable now, so we had to find other means of transport. And unfortunately, we are lacking some gadgets too here, so we couldn't also delay the patient, and then we're saving the time and tissue. So we had to arrange with the 4BN. The commander had to come in, and then they dispatched an ambulance from their end. And then we had another private ambulance service who helped, and then we conveyed all three to Komfanochi yesterday.
So you can confirm to us that it was gunshot wounds?
Yes, of course. I can confirm from the x-rays that we took, they were kind of the pellet forms. So it just splashed and then spread out.
So what's the current state of the injured now?
I believe, as at yesterday when we were transferring them out, the most critical one was the one with the airway obstruction, because the pellet had gotten stuck there and then it was swelling up and he was choking. But we were able to save the airway here because we had to push in a tube, an ET tube, so the airway was saved. The other one too had a shot to the just behind the ear into the skull bone, but fortunately he was very conscious and alert. And the other two had some bullets, some pellets in the back getting to the vertebral column, which is equally critical, but he was safe because the power was there. He could stand.
So where are they injured now? Where are they?
They are now at Komfanochi. We referred all of them at 7 p.m. yesterday.
All the four of them?
No, all three. We sent three out, and then one was discharged, the commander. He was the one who was most safest, with only a pellet in the shoulder.
So you was able to stabilize them before transferring them to Komfanochi?
Yes, as at the time we were transferring them, they were all stable.
Bringing some more updates of that story shortly, and in our subsequent bulletins as well. You're still watching Midday Live, and a heated argument ensued between gay rights activist and lawyer Moses Fuamwini over the report indicating gays and lesbians are discriminated against in Ghana. Gay rights activists have called on government to repeal the provision in the Criminal Offences Act, which criminalizes unnatural carnal knowledge. We bring you excerpts from last night's bulletin, News 360.
What LGBT people are looking for in Ghana is measures that must be put in place by government agencies to ensure that they are protected from violence and discrimination. The problem here in Ghana is that you have the specific provision in your Criminal Offences Act.
Unnatural carnal knowledge.
Unnatural carnal knowledge, Section 1041B, which is not necessarily being implemented, right? But it creates conditions where people are fearful of reporting instances of violence because they think that they themselves will be considered criminal. So it creates a culture of impunity.
You know, the interview asked you a very simple question, whether you were gay or lesbian. You say it's not relevant. Are you sure it's not relevant?
Very much it's not relevant.
Why would it be relevant, sir?
Because clearly, from your own analysis, it was the LGBT activists who asked you to do a research. You're just an instrument for pushing LGBT rights propaganda. And after that, you're asking and recommending that we should change our laws. And that's what I'm asking you. It's very relevant where you're coming from, because you have just provided the data. Although I think it's a fraudulent data, look at this whole Ghanaian population. Your sample size is 114. You're right, it's wrong. If anybody is brutalized or is hit or, manhandled, that is wrong. And everybody will speak against it. But the fact of the matter, and which is what they must accept, those in your studio, that this is the Ghanaian society, and we have a sovereign country, and we don't like that. That's not the sort of behavior or conduct we want to admit. Two, it is not a human rights matter. That is false human rights. Because if having anal sex or homosexual relationships are human rights issues, okay, I want to marry a cat, I want to marry a dog, bestiality, that's also a human right. So if people in a particular Ghanaian society say, you want to have sex with a dog, you want to have sex with a cat, we don't like it in this our community, so please can you stop it? Then you say that is discrimination? I mean, look, if you're not careful, bottom line, the society is going to be, disorderly. I can decide I want to marry my aunt, I can marry my father, I can marry my cousin, and incest. People can also gather around and say, if I want to marry my sister, I also have a human right.
Mr. Fuamwini, how do you reconcile your position with Article 17.2 of the Constitution, which essentially speaks against discrimination of any form, gender, race, color? How do you reconcile that position?
Well, it's good you're quoting the law, because it says gender, race, sex, color, religion. It never talks about sexual orientation, which is the language that the lady knows is used technically to represent sexual preferences. Does it use those words? You read your constitution, is it there? Do you see it over there? Of course it's not. The Ghanaian constitution never recognizes sexual orientation. It talks about sex. And you and I know that when we talk about sex, it's male and female. All right.
Now, away from that story to one that made headlines some time ago here in the country, and Ghana's controversial agreement with the United States of America for hosting the 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees effectively ended on January 6, 2018. The 2 detainees who were in detention for 14 years after being linked with terrorist group Al-Qaeda were brought to Ghana in 2016 for a period of 2 years. They were released as part of efforts to close down the U.S.-operated Guantanamo Bay prison, which was known to have had questionable human rights record over the years. The move was criticized by many observers, including the then opposition, that's a New Patriotic Party, who described the 2 as a security threat despite assurances contrary by the U.S. The two citizens, Margaret Bamfo and Henry Nana Boakye, further sued the former Attorney General and the Minister for Interior, contending that the 2 were being hosted illegally. The Apex Court ordered the government to send the agreement to Parliament for ratification or have the 2 detainees sent back to the U.S. TV3 understands President Akufo-Addo will address whether they are staying in the country or not when he meets the press later in the week. This is Midday Live. We have more shortly. Thanks for staying, and we have business now. TV3 has secured documents indicating the CEO of COCOBOD, Joseph Boahene Edu, paid for the 300 pieces of chocolate branded with his picture and distributed on his 60th birthday. That's the managing director of the COCOBOD Cocoa Processing Company, Nanajiman Boateng, says no individual can have his or her image affixed on any CPC product without paying for it. He spoke exclusively to our reporter, Komla Kluche.
This inception has been with us years, let's say ages, since CPC has been in existence. We've been doing it for corporate institutions, individuals, but it's just that for some time, we had some operational challenges, and that is what, because we were not having the beans, and that is what made us to dip a bit. So it is a whole thing that we do. We do handmade. We have an R&D department, which is in short like the Research and Development Department. We train on this handmade. So there's another form that we call it cocoa entrepreneurship. So it's like we train them so that they can also do this handmade on a small scale to earn some money. It is something that anybody, and I want to emphasize, anybody can just walk in and say, do it for me. And like you are saying, it's been with us ages. So anybody who knows it will just walk in and will do it for him. So it is the same in that 2015 when the former first couple knew it, and that's how they came in to do it. We can have one here that even the president, Baba Jama, President Jama and all of them, we've done some for them. Even outside, they came here and we did it for them. You know, so it is not like exclusively to only Ghanaians. Anybody who has any idea as to this. So this was a 5th anniversary of the Republic of Gambia. And because the ambassador then knew what we could do, they did these commemorative ones as part of their 5th anniversary. So it's the same way that they also, as the CE and as an individual and a Ghanaian who also knows it, also walked in to say, this is the 60th birthday, and I want you to do customized chocolate for my 300 guests. And that's how we did it for him.
So 300 chocolates were supplied, customized?
No, 300 packages.
300 packages
yes.
were supplied for his 60th birthday. At what cost, and did he pay for?
Yes. The total came up for 4 cartons and 3 boxes, because each box contained 20 pieces. So we put 2 in each pack. So for that, 300 came up to 600. And then we left the remaining for individuals, maybe if you spread it like that. So that total of that 4 cartons and 3 came up to 2,094 cedis. Because the cost, as I said, was the 448 times that total of 4 cartons and 3, or total of 83 boxes. Nothing is for free here.
And Frems Oil Company has rebranded its retail outlet at Pokwase in the West District. The rebranding, according to the Chief Executive, Reverend Dr. Kweku Frimpong, is to meet the growing demands of customers.
The rebranding, according to management, is also intended to engender public trust and confidence in the company. It is to also enable the company become a force in the industry. Chief Executive Officer Reverend Dr. Kweku Frimpong said the Frems Group is determined to remain competitive in the industry and spoke on a new tagline for the company.
We like to inform those present and the general public that our new look comes with exciting new tagline. Hence, when you say Frems, you say energy on the go. Affordable and reliable energy.
He promised to promote innovative services to meet the needs of the customers.
We are reminding our customers of our ongoing fuel promotion with Loyalty Insurance Company. Renew your third-party insurance policy and you get 3 gallons of fuel. Renew your comprehensive insurance policy and you get 5 gallons of fuel in all of our fuel filling stations across the country.
Coordinator for the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Kweku Ajumandia, lauded the efforts of the company.
I encourage that within the deregulation process, which commenced in July 2015, Frems Oil is entering into a new business proposition, and current position is no longer adequate in the midst of varied and many competitors targeting the same market.
Chief Executive Officer for the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, Alhassan Tampuli, spoke about plans to tighten standards in the petroleum industry.
I would like to commend the management, board and staff of Frems Oil for this significant achievement, not only for the petroleum downstream industry, but for indigenous Ghanaian businesses. Frems Oil is one of the OMCs with about 70 retail outlets nationwide. And the management has by and large maintained high standards in terms of product quality and safety.
Frems Oil Company established 10 years ago and began its operations in the northern region. It has increased its retail outlets to 70, with management poised to expand its operations in the coming months.
Let's look at some more business stories. And the West African Mills Company is to resume operations after government confirmed it has reconstituted its board. Workers of the company were asked to go home indefinitely on December 22, 2017, following the absence of a board to oversee its operations.
The company, which processes cocoa beans for export, had been closed down for over 3 years. It, however, resumed operations in May last year following the change in government and the MPP's pledge to revamp alien industries. 42 out of about 200 workers were recalled for test production. The rest were hopeful of resuming work after the test run. Their hopes were, however, dashed when management sent the 42 workers back home indefinitely, with the explanation that they had run out of cocoa beans and that a board is required to enable the company undertake full production. An executive member of the Managerial Workers Union, Stephen Nwanya, explained that per the joint venture agreement, the German majority shareholder had to provide 4 board members, while government names 3 members.
When the board is formed, then the mandate can be given for negotiation to start to resolve all outstanding labor issues. including workers' salary, so that all the workers can be called, so that a full operation can start.
An aide to the Cocoa Board CEO, Fifi Boafo, said government had selected its representatives and it would be communicated to the company for production to resume soon.
The Accra Commercial High Court, presided over by Justice Eric Cheba, for hearing the case of willfully causing financial loss to the state brought against former board chairman of the National Communications Authority, NCA, Eugene Bafo-Boni, and 4 others, will begin full trial of the matter from January 16, 2018. The court reached this conclusion after several arguments and counter-arguments by defense lawyers and state attorneys. Gloria Kufu, the Attorney General, and the Director of Public Prosecution, Yvonne Atokra, Isiama Sapong, Chief States, Frances Ansa, Principal State Attorney, among some other persons, represented the state in court. Legal representation for the accused persons, lawyer Abu Juan, holding a watching brief for Tadiosori, appeared for the first accused, lawyer Adbesi Chapasu for the second accused person, and Samuel Kujo for the third accused person, Kujo Yangsen for the fourth accused person, and Safo Wabin for the fifth accused person. The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, has suspended the sale of marine gas oil to the ocean vessels leaving the country. Investigations by the authority has revealed government has lost 900 million cedis through diversion of the product.
According to the NPA, its investigations have revealed that some operators steal the marine gas oil and sell it to ocean vessels which are leaving the country. The NPA has therefore directed the immediate suspension of its sale for further investigations to be carried out.
Friday, when we began checking up, and this morning, we are going to suspend operations of MGO, and we have, in collaboration again with the Ministry of Finance, proposed the imposition of taxes, levies, and margin on all marine gas oil to discourage the criminal elements from distorting the markets.
Coordinator for the Association of Oil Marketing Company, Kwekwa Jimandia, commended the NPA for the swift response. The NPA has indicated plans to tighten its safety audits, and fuel stations found culpable would be shut down.
This will be followed immediately with the risk assessment and safety audits of existing stations, and stations that do not meet the parameters set in the risk assessment may be closed down in the interest of public safety.
The coordinator of the OMCs again commended government for maintaining macroeconomic stability, which has improved the lot of OMCs.
The cumulative consequential negative effects of this dastardly act on unemployment, revenue to the state, and making it almost impossible for the OMCs to meet their financial obligations when due, thereby increasing the non-performing loans on the bank's books.
Figures from the NPA indicate a total of 3,391 filling stations are across the country, out of which 2,751 are into the sale of petrol, diesel, while 636 engage in the sale of LPG.
And that's all for business this afternoon. We have sports next with Nana Kujofre. We now move to international news. North Korea is to send a delegation to the 2018 Winter Olympic Games taking place in South Korea in February, officials from the South say. The breakthrough announcement came as the countries met for the first high-level talks in more than 2 years. The delegation will include athletes, officials, and supporters. A military hotline between the nations, suspended for nearly 2 years, will be reinstated from Wednesday, the South officials said, and they would continue all day, and developments have been conveyed by officials from the South. And that'll be all for this afternoon. I am Wendy Lai. Do have a lovely afternoon and thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.